guys, welcome to Ask Raglan. Today we're going to see about VPNs. So what is VPN? Why do we need VPNs? And why there is too much buzz around VPNs these days? And so what is the advantage of using a VPN? What are the disadvantages? And how to choose a VPN? So this is all the stuff that we're going to see today. And I'm going to make it really short, this video. So let's get on to it. So first thing, what is VPN? VPN is called Virtual Private Network. So where does it come from? In earlier days, it was used in DoD, Department of Defense in USA, and a lot of other defense departments used it, and then it slowly moved on to the corporate world. So a lot of large companies, they used VPN probably around several years ago, and so the whole purpose of that is VPN offers certain things by default. So that way you don't need an expensive product to do that sort of work. So typically, what are the issues that people will face? Let's say if it's a defense department or some of the companies which is doing some R&D works and things like that. So the things that they have to worry about is hackers stealing their information, and viruses, malwares, and another most important thing is people tracking them, what they are using, what sort of websites they go, what sort of products they use, the information about the employees and things like that. So a lot of those things goes around. So the VPN puts a little door around these things, so and then it makes it a bit more secured. So let's get through this first thing. So first thing is, let's understand what is VPN in a first place. Let's say I got two computers. So the first one doesn't have a VPN. So you're trying to go online. So you try to browse some websites or anything. And what happens is your connection goes to your local router. That's the router that you keep it on your machine and right into your home or something. And then from the router, it is connected to the internet. So generally what happens is at this place, your ISP stands in between here as well. So the ISP is here. So now what happens is your internet service provider get to know what all the websites you're visiting. So they have a log of what IP address is downloading this torrent and what IP address is going to this porn websites and a lot of these things. They get to know all these things. They store a lot of these logs, and these logs provide a crucial information. Let's say if there is a legal litigation and let's say you're separating from your partner, and then your partner is accusing you of going to a particular website and things like that, or visiting someone or checking their profile or whatever it could be. So now to prove that it is true, all they do is they go to your ISP, internet service provider, and get the logs and then verify it if it is true. And if the logs are there, they will be able to verify it. And if it is true, and of course, it get proved. Simple as that. And apart from that, a lot of government agencies, secret services, and intelligence departments, and a lot of these departments, they tend to snoop on people. And this could be good for either for the good purpose or for something else as well. Let's say take it as a good purpose. Let's say if there is some people who is linked with some terrorism and you want to know who they are talking to and all that sort of stuff, which could be good. And the bad part is, let's say if the government want to let's say suppress people of different views. Let's say you belong to a party A, and there is people supporting party B, C, and things like that. So what generally people in power does is, like, say I wanted to track people who are supporting party B and C, and then I wanna go against them. So it could be the party workers, it could be the people who is working in the political party, or it could be civilians too. So the governments can actually go to the ISPs, the internet service provider, and they can get the logs, and then they can start tracking you and probably even go against you to use the evidence that you have got it. So it could go in both ways. So now with this way, what happens is when you browse, it goes through a router and it goes through your ISP and then connects to the website, and then you go on to your respective website. So now what it does, it actually stores information stating that, okay, let's say this IP address is 192.168.1.21 has accessed google.com. So that log is saved inside your ISP servers. So you can go and find, okay, what all the websites I have visited today, yesterday, and things like that. Remember, clearing your browser cache is not going to help you out. because your browser cache is only local, so it is your log files, so you can clear it off. But ISP, they will still hold a log literally for almost months and stuff. So that is a problem. So now what is with the VPN? So let's say if there is user 2 and he has got VPN installed on his computer. So now when he try to connect to the same website, it goes through his router and then it actually goes to the VPN server. So remember, there is an ISP sitting in between, but the ISP doesn't see the information that you're trying to access. Let's say in the first case, when you try to access google.com, your ISP sees what website you're trying to access, and that would know that, okay, user 1 from this IP address. The IP address is basically like an address to identify your computer. So where this computer is, what the location of the computer, a lot of these information. So that is an IP address. So now in this case, this IP address belongs to this particular user, is accessing google.com on this particular date and time. Whereas in this case with the VPN, when you try to access it, your ISP tend to know that, okay, there is some communication which is coming through my servers, and but it's not able to find what this guy is accessing, because the information is encrypted. It goes like a sort of like a pipeline. So it may actually get the location of your VPN and stuff, but it may not know that you're accessing google.com because that information is encrypted. If you go to your ISP logs, it will just say some gibberish. So it will just say this guy accessing this time, date and time, and it's gibberish, gibberish, gibberish. So they will not be able to know what websites you accessed at what time. So which is good. And then that is what I have put it as a different color. So as you can see, it's all encrypted pipeline, and it goes to a VPN server. So the VPN companies, what they do is they place different servers in different parts of the world. And let's say if you're accessing from Chennai or let's say Delhi or Sydney or Tokyo, doesn't matter where you are. So most of the bigger VPN companies, they will have nodes near all the major cities. And now what happens is all your request goes to that server, and that server will actually go to google.com. So you are not actually directly going to google.com. It is actually this VPN server is actually going to google.com. So now if you say the VPN servers, most of the VPN servers doesn't store the logging information, the same thing as ISP, but some of them do. So you've got to be careful as well. So when you buy a VPN, check what is their logging policy. So that's important. We'll talk about later. So now the VPN server goes to the google.com and then it gets the details and then give it to you. So this is how it works. So now what is the advantage and disadvantage of this one? So the advantage is basically if you're browsing using your Wi-Fi or a public Wi-Fi hotspot like airports and McDonald's and stuff like that, you will be able to use a secured Wi-Fi. So let's say if I'm on a public Wi-Fi and if there is another hacker who is also in the same Wi-Fi, he should be able to see all the machines that is connected to, and based on the IP address, and then he should be able to send you some requests and send you some malwares and do whatnot. So now if it is using a VPN network, your information is completely secured. That means another hacker will not be able to know what websites you're visiting if you're connected to a public Wi-Fi. So especially if you're on a public Wi-Fi, it's best that you have a VPN and then go through that. So that's important. And second thing is P2P torrenting. So we know that the torrenting has been gone through a lot of issues in the past several years, and a lot of torrenting websites have been shut down and people have been arrested for copyright issues and things like that. So if you are a torrenting fan, so you should get a VPN, because they will not be able to track your logging. They will not be able to log your IP address against you and things like that. So which helps you quite a lot. Most cases, if you see the VPN in the public hands, most of the civilians who use it, they use it because they use a lot of torrents. Most of the torrent users, they tend to have VPN, simple as that. And the next one is it tends to keep you anonymous. So that means people will not know which this guy is accessing this website. So pretty much they will not be able to link that information. So your identity will be anonymous. And then privacy. So let's say if you're opening some sensitive websites, your personal websites and whatever it could be, so no one will be able to get into the pipeline and then see what photographs you're seeing, what photographs you're downloading, what videos you're downloading. All this information goes within the pipeline, so they will not be able to get that through. But remember, this security is actually like a 50-50, I would say. So it's not 100% secured, everything is perfect and things like that. So there could be chances people can break into it and read information and things like that, but it provides some basic level of security, and that is through encryption. So if you're not sure what is encryption, encryption is basically, let's say if I tell you a word hello and you can read it, it's hello and you can write it down, and what I do is I write, say, hello, HELLO, and then let's say I convert this into binaries and then multiply it with a different number, and then I can give it you as a code, and then what I'll do is I'll call you and tell you what is that code is, and if you actually decipher it with the code, you get the binary. From the binary you should be able to assemble the word hello. So that is basically encryption and decryption. So now VPN offers encryption. So that is what happens is when you install a VPN on your mobile device or your computer, and then when you go through the router until you reach the VPN server, the complete communication is encrypted. So that means people will not be able to read that information while it's on the pipeline. So that's one thing. And so next thing is geolocation freedom. So that is another major thing people generally get VPNs. The reason being is, let's say if you're watching Netflix, a particular show, and they get released in a particular geolocation first. Let's say you are in a geolocation, unfortunately you don't get it until it comes to your location or it's banned or something like that, then you can choose VPN and connect to the server which is in that particular location which is allowed. Let's say Netflix allows a particular show within USA and it's not allowed within India. So then what you do is, if you are within India, you go to your VPN server connections and then you choose USA. So that means all your connections goes to USA and then connects to Netflix from the USA server. So the Netflix will think that you're coming from USA, so they give you access, and so your government and all these people will not be able to track you as well. So pretty much you get to watch Hulu or Netflix or something. So that's one thing. Geolocation based restrictions can be removed, which is really good. And so next thing is, what about the pitfalls? What are the cons of using VPN? So let's say if you're not using not too popular VPNs, because there is a whole bunch of VPNs that's available there. Some of them are funded, that means they got a bigger backing, and some of them are smaller companies. So the problem with that is the bandwidth. So it is same like your internet service provider. During your evenings, let's say if you're using a shared connection, when there is more people using internet, your internet connection is going to slow down. So when there is less people, it's going to be faster. The same way, since all the connections goes to the VPN server, if your VPN company that you're using doesn't have that bigger infrastructure, then all the bandwidth is going to be squeezed and you're going to have a slower connection. So that is one of the problems, the bandwidth. Second is availability of nodes. So as I said, there is a whole bunch of advantage of using VPN. So one of the major things is geolocation freedom. So let's say you want to watch Netflix shows and your country doesn't allow Netflix and you want to go through US server or European servers. But let's say the VPN company that you have chosen to go with doesn't have that particular USA server. So that means when you try to connect it, you will not be shown as a user within USA, so you will not be able to see the shows. So that would be another problem. So you need to check availability of nodes. So let's say, what's the purpose? If your purpose is basically geolocation freedom, then you need to see what all the location the VPN service is available, and then you choose it, because some of them is not available in this region, some of them are available in this region, so you can choose which is best for you. And next thing is lag due to encryption. So encryption, as I said, when I say a word hello and people add some code to it and then make it like a gibberish language and give it to you, and then when I give you the code, you can multiply it, divide it, and then you get the decrypted value and you can read it's hello. Now you see it takes time. So if I say you hello, if you say yes hello, it's quick. Let's say if I encrypt it, give it to you in a piece of paper, and you go and do the math and decrypt it and write it, it is secured, but it takes time. So the encryption, sometimes there is different levels of encryption as well, 64-bit, 128, 256, a lot of different levels of encryptions are there, and also different methods. So based on that, there will be some lag. So that means if you're watching something, if you're downloading something, browsing some websites, so these things will be slower compared to your connection without VPN. So in this case, this guy wins. So because this guy will have really fast internet connection, whereas this guy will have a bit slower connection. But most of the VPN connections, if you go with a branded sort of a decent sized company, they generally offer decent quality service, so you should be fine. But anyway, so you can actually turn on and off your VPN. So just in case, let's say if you're not doing anything worrying, so then you can turn off the VPN and you can browse regularly. And whenever you think that you're doing some shady stuff, then you can turn on VPN. And then another thing is the most important thing is the fake VPNs. So now if you're trying to buy VPNs online, there will be a whole bunch of clickbaits that you have to come across to find one. So there is guys like ExpressVPN and then NordVPN. There is a lot of different guys who is like, say, top branded companies, but there is a whole bunch of other guys who says it's free and it's $1 a month and whatever it is. So they all not VPNs. Most of them are not VPNs. They are all fake VPNs. All they do is give you a software, ask you to install it, and then they'll start giving you lots and lots of adwares and spamwares and stuff, and by the time you find it, it'll be too late. So that's another thing. So fake VPNs, beware of it. And none of the VPN companies, if it's a bigger company, they generally don't spam you with a lot of ads. So that's one thing, keep in mind. Another thing is your log policy of the VPN company. This is very important, guys, because out of all the advantages which I have said, the main thing is anonymity and privacy, security. A lot of these things are the most important thing why people need VPN. So the thing is, the logs, the VPN companies, some VPN companies store logs, some VPN companies don't even store logs. So you have to choose, guys, who is not storing logs, or what is their logging policy, whether they delete it after a day or whatever it is. You have to be very crystal clear with them, and because that's why I've written it in red. So it should be the most important thing of your list. Don't choose a company who says that, you know, we save logs for 30 days and whatnot, because that's same as your internet service provider. So they do the same thing. So what is the point of having a VPN when they have records of what we're doing? So which doesn't make sense. So that is all for today, guys. Hopefully I'm pretty clear on what I've said. So if I missed something, just let me know. And hope you like the video. If you like it, just subscribe to the channel. Thank you.